Hey guys, playing in the garage, building the shelves for my shed, and many of you guys will recognize this. My Stanley took a dump, but I fixed many a tape measures being a woodworker for years, so thought I'd bring you guys along and show you how I fix them. Okay, there's several ways that they get broken. This is actually not the most common, but it pulled out all the way and it won't go back in, meaning the spring in the center has lost its wound. A lot of times, where did this go? A lot of times they'll just break off right here, and then you hear it wind up in there. You can fix that. I'll show you how to do that. But there's always just a couple screws around the outside. Sometimes they're under, if there's a rubber protected cover. But pull that off. We got the inside right here. Oh, there goes my spring. And that is my problem. Is my spring has actually broke its mount. Couple times, couple places. That's why I won't return. It's split. But let's disconnect the tape measure from the spring first. Now, let me talk about one of the problems. Now, one of the big problems is this will actually break off, and you can, I've done it many times, just cut it to a clean spot where there's no cracks and just cut a new little hole, and you can just reinsert that and go in. But I'll show you how to wind it and everything. So this little spring is razor sharp, so I threw on some gloves real fast, but yeah, you can see I'm two different parts. This is the end of my spring right here, and it is snapped. It's wound a little bit. There we go. Got to jump off. That's what I want to show you guys. There we go. Got to come out. Okay. Come on, done. There we go. Got the spring. Now, a lot of times what will happen instead of the end breaking is this little piece in here that grafts on. See if we can pull that out. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's almost like a tuna fish can. The old tuna fish cans, or not the tuna fish cans, I think maybe old tuna fish cans, but the, what is that? Corned beef cans, where you got the little key that rolls it around. That's kind of the exact same thing, and they're almost always just have this little slot that this bends around in, and it crimps over, and a lot of times that'll snap. And you can just put it back on there and bend it again, and the tape measure will last another lifetime. So what I've done to make this piece straight, I've just heated it up a little bit. I cut my piece off so it's a little bit shorter, so I know exactly where I want it. And I'm just going to put it on there. I'm going to mark it. I'm just going to draw what I need to cut out, the shape I need to cut it out, and then I'm going to grind it out. If I use the snips, if I go in too far at all anywhere, I'll cause a fracture point where it's weak, and the last thing I want to do in this narrow area is cause a fracture point. So I'll just take my grinder and just grind that down a little bit real fast. There we go. I test fitted it. It works. Now it's time to wind the spring, the most dangerous part. The idea is we're going to kind of start in the middle and just work our way around and try to get this into as tight as ball as possible before we insert it back in the case. My case is actually split. Generally this is actually like a sealed unit. Making sure to keep my hand fully around it, keeping it all together. Just trying to make the ball, you want to make it a decent amount smaller than your hole, because it'll slip just a little bit when you're going to install it. The idea is you get it to a certain size, and then to lock it, you see my center's getting tight. To lock it to that, you actually pull, and that'll lock it down to that size. And then you can let go of that, let it spring out. And then you just wrap this around the outside, keeping the center tight. And you just keep doing that a couple times, and before you know it, you'll have this time I'll have a ball tight enough. Actually got it all wound and in there. But what I had to do, because this piece was actually, if you saw a second ago, was actually on this. This was actually originally part of this, and it snapped off. So I actually had to plastic weld it back together, just with my soldering iron, just held it in place. So that's the cradle for it, and then this was glued on top. So I slid it in there. I did have to cut a notch because there was a notch in the original piece right there. Most don't do this though. I don't. Most of the ones I've ever worked on are small Stanleys or China ones. But now we can actually put this back on, and from here I can plastic weld. Yeah, that works. So I'll just plastic weld this real fast. Melt it in a little bit. Mush the sides together. It's a little bit of a tack weld. It's all welded back together. Sealed case like it was originally. What we're going to do is actually wind the tape onto here. That works. And now we're just going to wind up the tape. There's no tension here. Just winding up the tape like it would be inside. What we're going to do now is place it in the body. Probably place it down in this half. Let me take out the stop. Let's take out that piece too. So what we're going to do now, it's not going to put tension. It's locked into this little square groove on there, and this will lock on the side. It's not going to start putting tension until I start pulling this out, and that's going to start tensioning. But what I want to do to pre-tension it is I actually want to start turning that opposite to this. You know, if this stays still, so if this rotates when I'm pulling this out, this is rotating clockwise. I want to turn that counterclockwise, and I can do that a couple ways. I can actually wrap the tape back up in like this and hold it, and that's essentially about one turn, but there's not enough tension to pull it back in at the very beginning. So let's do a second turn. Still no tension. We might have to do a couple. Put that in. There's a little bit. We'll give it just a... We don't want to over tension this thing. I'll give it another wrap. Okay, we'll leave it like that for a second. I don't want too much tension on there. I'm going to lift up, and I got to get this engaged in there too, so I got to try not to jostle it around, or else I'll spring it. There we go. We got it all back together, and now it should function like a tape measure. Good enough. Let's wheel it out. Okay, we won't wheel it out any further than that until we actually get our main locking one, which is this one with your belt clip on it, in place. Okay, 25 footer. We're out to 7 feet. I got the spring a little loose, but it's good enough. We're out to 12 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. I can feel the tension on the spring nice and good. 23 feet, feel a little resistance like you do on most tapes. I won't take it past, there's 24 feet. I won't take it past that, but you don't want to stress it. But there we go, working tape measure. And while you're at it, make sure your little front claw is straight. Nothing's... Well, that's my pet peeve, borrowing somebody's tape measure and that's bent in because they've dropped it. Because then you try to measure and you're about 1/8 of an inch off, but when you go on the front and you add 1/8, you know. I'll keep using it, just don't, you know, it really stresses them out when you take them past, you know, when you take them out to the very, very end, and that's what I was doing. I was taking it out at the very end, trying to get 25 feet, trying to measure something, and bam, just let go inside. Thanks for watching, guys. Be careful, because if that spring is dangerous. It does say right on there in the inside, non-serviceable, but I serviced it. Thanks for watching. Check out my channel for other awesome videos on cool stuff. Leave a comment below and subscribe if you haven't. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye.